Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show, where we talk about all components of business and how to utilize them for exponential growth. My name is Athin Cassiotis. I'm a business growth strategist where I help business owners grow and scale to create freedom and choice. And today, I have an awesome guest. He is the founder and CEO of Quolum, a SaaS and cloud spend reduction product that is funded by Sequoia and Nexus. And he has 20 years of business growth, product management, and SaaS experience. He has analyzed SaaS buying for 20 plus companies with over $500,000 in SaaS spend and has been the leader of growth for a unicorn. He founded Bitzer Mobile, which was created on the heels of the 2008 recession and exited in what was Oracle's first acquisition in mobile. And most recently, he led growth at Chargebee, where revenue grew 3x. And in his free time, he flies a single-engine Cessna 172 over the San Francisco Bay Area. Welcome, Indus Khaitan, and thank you for being on my show.
Hey, awesome, and great chatting with you, Athin.
Yeah, awesome, mate. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing show for everyone watching and listening today. So you're a very successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself and by telling us about you and your journey.
Again, my name is Indus Khaitan, founder CEO of a company called Quolum. We help businesses save money on their SaaS purchases, right size, optimize, cancel licenses that you're not using and put that cash on the bottom line. That's brief about what I'm doing now. I grew up in a mining town in India and got a college degree, moved to the United States and worked for a few startups, and now started Quolum in between. As Athin said, started a company called Bitzer Mobile that we sold to Oracle. Super excited and love chatting with you.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Really powerful story, and what you've already achieved to date. I'm sure it's just going to get better and better. So let's first dive a little bit deeper into Quolum and what you do. So just tell us a little bit more about how you're helping people.
So I think the challenge that we saw, and that was the genesis of this idea of Quolum. I ran growth for a company called Chargebee, and my team was spending a lot of time, money, and resources on running many of the growth marketing campaigns. And in that process, they acquired a lot of tools, and in many cases, my credit card would be on file. And finance would come running, say, "Hey, Indus, I saw a charge on your statement. Is this something you authorized?" And I would say, doesn't look like me, but looks like somebody from my team. And it would just balloon into many such situations. And we looked at tools outside and could not find a solution. And I thought, hey, this looks like a problem to be solved. And this was 2018, 2019 days. And over a period of time, the idea just hung on me. I would not be able to let it go and quit Chargebee to start this. At its core, the idea is super simple. Let's say you are a VP of sales, you buy 200 licenses of Salesforce, 50 of Outreach, 30 of Lucia, 40 of Apollo, and then you have team that is moving over, new people coming in, some people leaving. Is somebody managing that stack? Are people monitoring what is being used and not being used? If people leave, are you canceling those accounts? And that is the problem that we solve at an org level, not just the VP of sales as an example, across marketing, across dev, across back office function, finance. So we come in as a man in the middle and help detect what's not being used, help work with the vendors to right size it, cancel those accounts, negotiate contracts, and make sure you save 30-40% on your millions of dollars of SaaS bill.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Love it. Very, very powerful with all those different elements that you're bringing in there. And I guess, you've got an interesting background and, you've come, from India into the US, being an immigrant founder, I guess, in the US. So do you want to maybe share a little bit about that experience of being an immigrant founder in the US?
Oh, man. Being an immigrant founder is I would say, it's a pleasant experience to become a founder of, you start anything, it's a great thing. You have an idea, you create a product. Being an immigrant is like 10 times more difficult. You are on your own. You have no plan B. If your startup shuts down, you have no parents' garage or their couch to live. you only have one plan B, which is one-way ticket back to India. And as a result, you cannot fail. You have to survive. You have to make sure the startups gets to a place. But at the same time, at least in America, it is the greatest American dream after buying a house to have your own business. And I'm just plain lucky that found a niche, built a product, got a great set of people, and we sold the company to Oracle, and then on to the next venture. So can't complain, can't ask for more than what I have.
Yeah, I love that. I love that point where you're saying that you couldn't fail. Like it's amazing, when there's that big determination factor and commitment, and it's like there's no going back about what that can create. So I think everybody can take that, whether you're an immigrant founder or not or whatever. But how do you go all in where you can't necessarily go backwards, or it's a massive step backwards and you don't want to, because that's can help us with our success. And you've obviously, you've had a small startup initially, and a lot of startups, obviously wanting to grow into bigger companies and things like that. So do you want to maybe talk a little bit about that, about the transition from, being at the start, whether it's just you or with your co-founders, and as you start to hire people, to then, getting it to that big corporation level?
Yeah, I think if I talk about my current journey at Quolum, it was just a few of us starting together, having an idea, and then trying to find people who would believe in you as an individual, that, hey, if I work with Indus, it's going to be hell of a ride. Doesn't matter what the end game is, whether we will have any economic output or not, but it's going to be a journey full of learning. Things that have not been done will be done, whether it's product features, whether it's customer acquisition, whether it's designing a new architecture. I think that's what we aspire for. The transition is the very, sometimes I would say it's easy, at least as a second time founder, I think it's easier. But when I was a first time founder, the hardest is letting things go. Because let's say you hire to run somebody, your engineering team, you'll always have a doubt saying, is this person not screw things up? Is this person working as expected? It takes a little bit of a courage, I would say, to give the keys of the kingdom to somebody else to run it, and then take a back seat, because he or she is going to run things at her own pace. You want to run at 120 miles, you will drop a few things from your pocket. She's going to run at probably 90 miles, not going to drop a thing from her pocket. So I think that's the choice we have to make as an individual. So delegating, but at the same time, the transition is when you delegate and you measure. So you trust enough, but you still measure, oh, is the release on time? Are there bugs in the system? Are customers happy? I think that's what I learned as the first step of transitioning from a founder to building a team and trusting others, and then giving them the opportunity to trust you back. So, and then your company is scaling, you're going to the next level.
Yeah, I love that. Really powerful. So interesting, that little distinction, right? All these little things add up. And, obviously you've had a lot of success. You did the exit to Oracle, which is amazing. And, your current company's, growing well now. And you're looking at helping companies too. What do you think to get really explosive growth, big growth, not just standard stuff to get there? What do you think is the secret recipe or whatever it is to get that at a company?
I think explosive growth is a combination of multiple things, which is also true in early days and also true in your later days. Two parts of this question is, when you're at 0 to 1, the reason somebody is buying your product because there is a problem that you're solving. The product itself is priced in a way that they could use it. And of course, there are people who are building it and delivering the product. And that's like early customers. What happens after that is your product market fit, which is beyond your first 5, 10, 20 customers, where you think, oh, I can now sell to people at scale, which is if I call 100 anonymous, unknown folks, 10 of them would say, oh, this is interesting. Can I do a demo? Can you do a demo? Can I see a demo? And that's the signal for the scale. And the scale itself is, again, a combination of the first three things in the early journey. Do you have a product? Can you service it? Can you price it? Can you maintain it? As in, keep giving me more. Most of us are doing SaaS business. Can you keep giving me more at the price that you're charging? And scale it in a way that the team that comes to scale can run independently. They're not dependent on the founder for all the answers. There is an engineering team that runs the release. There's a product team that manages requirements. There's a sales team that connects with these two and sells the product to the customers. There's a marketing team who understands the market and brings those customers in-house and then has the conversation. I think when you have these 4 or 5 functions working independently, and then there are a lot of customers asking for it, you're ready for an explosive growth as a signal. And then, of course, then the mechanisms of scaling the company and getting bigger and the team of servicing and all of that come into picture.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for doing those little stages, which I think is really powerful for people to simply grasp, what they need to do to tick those boxes and be successful. Now, obviously, we want to grow and scale, and as much as we're building things and automating things in our business, we can't do it without people, right? We need people to help us to grow and things like that. So let's talk a bit about, I guess, leadership and management, because they're two sides of the same coin. What tips do you think you could give us, to be how we can be better leaders and managers, and how to do that process as the business grows?
I think the core theory that I have worked with is identifying, at least in a startup journey, you have to identify if a person is a pioneer or an explorer, or is the person a town planner. Visually, if you see it, like an explorer is on a horseback or on a camel ride, trying to figure out, hey, is there water somewhere? Is there gold somewhere? Can I dig? Can I survive? Can I figure out a way to sell this water or the gold to other people? Many of the early stage folks are explorers. They will do whatever it takes to get to the next level, right? In that, if you contrast that with a town planner is, yep, gold has been found. There is a settlement in place. People are living in tent. I need to have a sewage line. I need to have utilities. I need to have water supply. I need to have garbage taken out. I need to have housing code, how you want to build your buildings. As a leader and a manager, you have to identify that trait in an individual. Is he a explorer or a pioneer, or is he a town planner? Because depending on the stage of the company, you cannot get a town planner at an early stage, nor all of the explorers and pioneers will transition to becoming a town planner. You as a leader or a manager will shine, first as a leader, identifying the traits, and as a manager, helping people transition from becoming a pioneer to a set town planner. If you can coach people to work as if the company has grown, but nothing has changed, you have succeeded as a manager. I think both are two sides of the same coin. One is you're giving, the second you're identifying.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Love the metaphor as well. It helps us to conceptualize that as well. Really, really powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And I think key thing for you as well is, I know your background, you've been in the venture capital space, right? Before you started, and understand that area there, and a lot of businesses, they want venture capital, right? At some point, they're going to need investors, whether they're angel investors initially or venture capital at a later time if they really want to scale something. So if companies are looking, founders looking to get, venture capital to invest in their growth, what key things do you think they need to do, or, to prepare for, to be successful in the process, and maybe what risks as well should they watch out for?
I think as somebody who's starting out, I think the easy money to get is people in your network, right? I think it's cliched, but family and friends are your first resource to tap into to get venture capital. The reason they are giving you money is because of you, right? Can you do this? I love you so much, hence I'm going to give you money, right? Those are the only two reasons. But if you go to more professional angels, they're of course looking at you. Can you do this? But more than that, are you capable of doing it? So everybody wants to do it, they can do it, but they do not probably, and by capable, what I mean, do you have the domain knowledge? Do you have the background? Have you built something in a related area before? Can you hire people? Have you hired people in your past? So they're looking at the same you, but from a different lens. And the second one is the product. The first set of professional investors would look at the product. Is this a product which a large number of people would buy? And specifically in venture capital, they're looking for explosive growth, hundreds and thousands of and millions of users. So they look for a very large market for the product, which is kind of the other side of the product coin. Say, is there a large market for the product? And if those two questions are answered in the early stage, you'll get, of course, your family and friends as an angel, but also professional angels, and then professional investors, which is your Series A, that, hey, you have a team you hired, you have a product that people want to buy. There's a big market for what you have built. And you as the CEO or founder, you're capable of executing this to the growth or explosive growth level.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Really powerful. And I'm part of sort of, wealthy investor groups as well. And it's so interesting, how people analyze these things. That's a great, simple way about what, boxes needs to be ticked there. And I would say that if you don't have all the experience yourself in a lot of these areas, like the capability, is that have co-founders or have key people in your team, advisors, right, that then can fill those gaps. So then they have confidence, right, that you can then deliver on that at the same time.
Yeah, and many times, just to add to that, you have co-founding team, right? Team of two. One guy is and again, very well known in startup circles. One guy is a builder, writing code if it's a tech product. The other guy is a salesman, taking what you've built and sell it. I think that's a great combination of those two as a, two people founding team. If you don't have the capability in a single founder as one person.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the Steve Jobs Wozniak, right? Steve Jobs is the salesman doing everything. Wozniak's the tech guy in the background. And you need both if you don't have both of the skills, like you said. But there are unicorn people out there that can do a lot of things. So it's possible, right? But different set of skills as well. Love it. And let's go a little bit further. Let's talk about tech in general, I think, now, because SaaS businesses, there's a lot of businesses coming out now, right? That's the model that a lot of businesses are doing, recurring revenue, all these things, right? And a lot of value that's being provided to automate a lot of things in our lives. And it's being more and more needed, basically, right? In what we're doing with all these problems being solved, which is awesome. What are you seeing? Because you've been in this space for a while. I want to think about trends. So what key trends and things are you seeing in the tech world, and how that's sort of impacting us globally?
I think in general, I still feel that we are very early in the innings of tech taking over our lives. If you've seen at least the last 5 years, OpenAI, what was that project called, DALL-E, where you could generate images from text. I think that's like just a very early signs of what's possible in tech. But if you go beyond the AI parts, you still have to do a lot of paper processing. If you look at my desk, I have like a check, I have a receipt, I have a business card, I have a dollar bill lying around. There's still so much to do, right? There's still so much automation left in the world. If you look at just numbers, every year, $4.5 trillion are spent on IT services and communication, worldwide. And if you parse out, only a small percent of that is SaaS. It is still hardware. It's still, human in the loop services, but software is slightly taking over. I'll give you one example. If you need a home loan today, you get approved in less than few hours. If you needed a home loan 20 years ago, it would take you like a month because your credit records will be pulled out. The title has to manually get escrowed. The filing to the county is done on a paper envelope that will take like 3 days. Escrow checks will be mailed. It'll take 5 days. So it was a 45, 60-day closing. Now you could actually close on a house in less than a day. And I've heard people doing it. If you see how tech has modernized, but only 1% of those houses are still high tech, right? There's some paper being reduced, but the modernization is still kind of long battle to be fought from here. I think software is still a lot to be done, and old school software is still to be written. And I'm going to digress here for a second. We still have COBOL programs, we still have Fortran programs, Pascal and machine assembly language. Those have to be transitioned to modern UI. Who's going to do it? Us as IT people, or the newer generation graduating out of college, they have to take it upon themselves.
Yeah, I love that. So true. It's so interesting, isn't it, where things are going? And I think the metaverse is another thing, right? That's just sort of getting the ball rolling about how is that going to change, how we experience things at the same time, and a lot of very powerful stuff there, which is going to be very cool. So we'll keep on the lookout. This is why we need the tech people, right? And I'm seeing a lot of kids these days, I think, as well, where I'm seeing a lot of coding and stuff like that happening now. Are you seeing that as well over like in the US, where they're trying to get kids into it more because that's sort of where, things are going now in terms of jobs and what's required to build these out?
I think, yes. I think abstraction in software programming, I'm an engineer, so I remember when I graduated, it was, machine code. It was 8086 processor that we wrote code upon, or opcode, and then of course some amount of code at hardware abstraction layer. Now Java as a programming language has abstracted in the last 10, 15, 20 years. The modern no code tools, right? So drag and drop, API driven. You don't have to worry about how data is going to get stored. You have a contraption of these APIs, and then you push and pull and show it. So I think it's becoming easier. And you rightly pointed out, I think there was a programming language or no code, if you could use that, called Scratch from MIT, if I got that right. My kids are slightly grown up, so I'm forgetting it. So Scratch is like, hey, you can quickly program a game. So you drag and drop widgets, connect using, drag and drop tools, and then you write a little bit of a code, and then say, hey, dinosaur killing the crocodile, and then you animate it. I think that's what's happening in our lives as in normal business world. So you don't have to write SQL code or programming language. You use, many of these modern tools to do drag and drop. So I think that's happening.
Yeah, I love it. Makes it automate the process, right? Even more so, make it easier for everyone, and then maybe get the tech guys to adjust it, right? If we need some adjustments there, which is very powerful. Let's talk about partnerships now, because I think partnerships in business is a really powerful thing, right? Like, we can grow a business ourselves, but maybe there's some key partners that we can have that are maybe in a similar market, or people that just complementary to what we do into what we offer. So from your experience with your other businesses and the current business that you've worked in, what are your thoughts around partnerships, and maybe some ideas around how people can get partnerships to really exponentially grow their business as well?
I think partnerships have become very integral. So if you look at what's happening in the API economy, right? APIs are now businesses. API is not like, hey, it's a back end thing which I'm going to plug in behind the scenes. But there are successful API companies. If you look at Twilio as an example, if you look at Postman to manage those APIs, of course, SendGrid for sending an email, now part of Twilio. So APIs have become like a foundational part of any business. And whether we know it or not, implicitly, an API company is a partner, right? Because you have agreed to use an API which powers your business, and then you offer that combined product to a customer. Of course, in contrast to the yesteryears of a partnership, you don't actually go and sign a long-term agreement. You negotiate with someone on the phone for hours. I think that has changed quite a bit. And same thing is happening if you look at some of the the app stores that have come out in businesses. If you look, let's say if you go to Segment, if you go to HubSpot, if you go to Salesforce, they have created this universe where it has become easier to companies to build these partnerships very naturally. You write using my SDK, you sign some paperwork, submit your code, just like iPhone app, submit your code to Salesforce. They're going to analyze it, and boom, they certify. There are 5,000 apps on Slack App Store, and these are actually mini partnerships in many ways. Of course, bigger companies, they kind of sign and do some joint marketing and stuff, but 4,900 companies just became a partner by clicking a button. So I think it's now becoming very foundational to how software services and other businesses are being built.
Yeah, I love that, and it's smart from a business decision, because if you're partnering with a big platform, right, then there's a market, because you know that they don't just need that, they need other things, and you sort of there's already a user base there, instead of just going cold out into a market and trying to provide that solution. It's like let's do it with Slack, like, or maybe Xero, an accounting software, right, where there's got a lot of things happening. There's a lot of those types of platforms going, hey, what else do you want to do in your business apart from just the accounting? There's all these other things, with receipts or whatever it is, managing your business. So yeah, really powerful. So I've invested a lot, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, into my learning, through coaching, mentoring, and things like that, and I'll continue to do that. I think throughout my life, because if we're not growing, we're dying, type of thing, and there's always new things to learn. And I'd like to hear from your perspective, if you've got a similar thing about this lifelong learning, and have you got had coaches and mentors over the years? Do you have them now? What is your thing around learning to be better in what you do?
I think I learned not because, I'm going to be very candid here, I learned not because I want to learn. I want to learn because I don't want to grow old. Because I read somewhere, I think it was a book by this person called David Sinclair. I think he writes about aging. And one of the things that he talks about is how people age, not because of the body, it's because of the choice that they make. The choice they make in their food habits, the choice they make there in their work habits, and the choice they make in not exercising their mental muscle. Now, the two are very obvious, right? Your food choices and your exercise choices. But how do you make sure your brain does not age? That is only possible if you continuously challenge yourself as an individual, right? Do things that are surprising you, do things that are challenging you from an intellectual challenge. And of course, you could exercise your muscles, like your leg and your arm and your body and your abs. How do you exercise your mental muscle? That's by learning, in my opinion. When I decided to learn flying, I am in my late 40s, so I'm going to disclose that. And my wife was like, "Are you out of your mind? This is not the age." Of course, she was being nice, and I took that up, saying, "Hey, if learning something new, which is like flying a plane, which I had no idea about, why don't we try? Let's just get out of comfort zone and then go sign up and take the single engine out." And same thing I do. I read a lot. I go online, catch up on forums, and see what kids are hanging out, which forums on Reddit they're hanging out, what language they're talking and exchanging ideas. That forces us to not be in a mode of decay from a brain perspective, but continuously challenging ourselves. And the derivative is learning. The objective is challenging ourselves to not die from a mental state perspective.
Yeah, I love that outlook. Really powerful. Completely agree with doing that, and doing a lot of different things to stretch our thinking and grow in different ways. And you mentioned there about becoming a pilot and things like that. Let's delve into that a little bit more, because I think that's very cool to be able to, you're doing your cruising over the San Francisco Bay Area. What drove you? I know you just mentioned a little bit there to become the pilot, but and how was the process in learning to fly, and what enjoyment do you get out of it?
I think there was no bucket list in my mind. I think as a kid, we always kind of dream up, hey, I'm going to be this or that. And you always get on a plane or a flight and you say, oh, I want to be a pilot. So you do that in the moment of time, but you then park it because life catches up with you and then you forget about it. What happened to me was when I moved to the place I'm currently, our home is in the traffic pattern of a nearby airport. So every morning, planes just fly over our head, and then these are students. And I did that as a student, just, doing a takeoff and landing and kind of perfecting my skills. And then, hey, that's interesting. Maybe someday. And then one thing led to the other. And then I just took a discovery flight. This was, I think, 2017, 2018, I think 2017 days. And then the process is you have to kind of first learn the skills. You have an expert, an instructor sitting with you on the right seat. You are on the left seat, actually control of the plane. It takes like 40 to 60 hours. Then you follow a sequence of steps mandated by FAA. You take a written exam, you pass it, then you take an exam on the plane in the sky for like 4 hours. You pass it, then voila, you can just go out, do whatever you want. And then, of course, that's a private pilot. That's the first stage. Then you become what's called instrument rated. So private pilot, the first level, you cannot fly in clouds. You still have to fly in a clear day. You have to use visual flying rules. You have to see the things. You can't use instruments just to, guess where you're going. And the second instrument, so you can fly blindfolded or not looking at the horizon, but looking below only on the instruments. Then you become commercial and twin engine. So there's this whole thing, beyond the private pilot. But yeah, you start with that.
Yeah, love it, mate. Really powerful. You got me thinking about it. Put it that way. Of getting out there. So maybe a future thing while I'm growing. It's like, well, let's fly a bit more than just flying in the business. Love it, mate. And I think these days we want to be looking at the next generation. Raising kids. I don't have kids just yet, but the plan is too soon. I just got married recently. But passing that on, but also as a founder, especially having a business, it can be challenging, right? Because we've got to put in the hours, especially at the start, and everything like that. And even as we're growing, right, there's a lot of things, hats we need to do. We don't always turn off. I know you've got teams all over the world. You were mentioning before where you've got to be up at night, having meetings as well as in the mornings and things like that. So do you want to maybe share a little bit about that juggling aspect with, say, your partner, but also with kids, and how that works, and how to at least spend quality time? Might not be massive quantities, but quality time with them as well.
Yeah, I think startups are hard. It will take a lot of time. So you want to sign up mentally for that. You also want to sign up with your partner, saying, "Hey, I'm going on this journey. Are you okay?" Because if you ask me, "Hey, honey, Friday evening, let's go have a date. Let's go eat out," and I say, "Oh, I have a customer call, or I have some crisis burning." So I think you have to have that honest conversation with your partner that this is a journey you're taking. There'll be ups and downs, but it'll be fulfilling for everyone. You will see me as an entrepreneur happy all the time rather than, hey, not happy. Hey, I have this crappy boss, or I'm a crappy job, whatever. So I think definitely signing up for something which is longer hours. I read this somewhere. I'm trying to remember. So there's a very popular company called Okta, OKTA. It's a single sign-on and security tool used by a lot of businesses. I remember reading or hearing the CEO when he started talking about having a presentation deck for his partner to sign off on what he's going to work on. Of course, that's an extreme case, but honest conversation with your spouse saying, "Hey, it's like a baby, right? It's going to wake up in the night, you're going to change the diaper." So it's the same thing with startup. There'll be a crisis at 3 a.m. in the morning, people calling you saying, "Hey, what do we do?" So you are the father. You have to change the diaper for the baby or the crisis that's going to happen.
Yeah, I love that analogy with the baby thing with the business as well. It's so true. I'm gonna use that one when I have to start doing a few more things as we go there. Hey, we've got multiple children. We've got our these children, but we've got the businesses that are the children as well that we need to. Love that. That's awesome. And we've talked about a lot of stuff and you've achieved a lot, but a lot of people don't necessarily know that there's a lot of challenges, right? Business is up and down always. It's not just a straight line up. And there's a lot of failures or challenges that we have to overcome through that journey. So maybe just share so that show that you are human. Maybe a big challenge or failure that happened with you in one of the businesses, whatever it is, whether it's the current one or a previous one, and how had to overcome that as well.
Yeah, I'll talk about this one. So when I started Quolum, I briefly had a co-founder. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out, and we parted ways. He found something else, and I was in a state of shock for at least 7 to 10 days. Early days of the company, and I was talking to my wife and said, "Oh, the car didn't even start, and the passengers are already leaving, or the co-driver is already leaving. Did I do something wrong? Did I take a wrong decision? Did I make a wrong choice?" And at that time, I had some soft commitments from some of the investors who are still the investor, thankfully. And before the money was in the bank, this was just the commitment saying, "Oh yeah, we like you. We are evaluating this. Maybe we will invest." And I told them this has happened. And luckily, they still decided to invest. We have built a long business, but it was very tumultuous 7 to 10 days in the early days of Quolum.
Yeah, powerful. And this is where choosing, the co-founder, is obviously very important with who you're choosing. And that's obviously you probably did your best to get the right person in there, but obviously it didn't work out, and probably lucky that it happened early. Maybe if I look at the positive side as well, because if you're going for a while, and then the co-founder wants to leave, then probably with equity positions and things like that, it probably makes it a bit more challenging at the same time.
Yeah. And I think, as a startup, we will see problems almost I would say almost on a weekly basis. There'll be one crisis to the other. And I would just come out. So this is my 10 by 10. This is where I work. So I would come out of this room, and let's say if I bump into my wife and she sees a sad face and say, "What happened now?" And this is like, some things happen, and one after the other. Sometimes people leaving, or there's an issue with the customer, or we screwed up, there's a bug. And all of these are part of the growing pain, but at the same time, they consume you as a founder, because, your job as a founder is, hey, I want to get customers. I think that's the primary one, of course, now for us. But earlier it was like, I want to have a product. But if things go wrong in the foundational element, okay, the product is wrong or something is wrong in the product, you just get consumed, you get stressed, and you have a bad day. But again, you got to look at the bigger picture and then just come out of it, saying, hey, you have a team of 25 that you're responsible for. You have a customer base of 50 that look up to your product on a daily basis. You have to serve them. And that just brings us out of the loop.
Yeah, I love it. It's always about the others. Very, very powerful. And yeah, it's been a very powerful interview session today, mate. And as we're I guess wrapping up now, I'd love to ask what one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
I think you have to play a very long game. I think not just, and it may sound kind of a cliche, but it's the fabric that you are as an individual. Nothing wrong in somebody being transactional. I, as an entrepreneur, I play a very, very long game, and that's how I built relationships. That's how I have my investors. That's how I have my team. That's how I have my product. And it reflects on many of these things that I do as a founder. We took almost 18 plus months to build the product. Of course, it is almost equivalent to committing a sin in SaaS world, because people give you money and it has become commonplace to get to revenue in 90 days. If you've taken money, if you're a startup, What the F are you doing for 1 year? Why there's no product? Because look at everybody else. They already have customers, they have revenue. Because either the product is too simple, anybody can copy, or there's no product there. So if you have to play a long game, you have to do it the way it has to be done. Because at the end of the day, what are you selling to your customers? You're not selling growth hacks. You're not selling amazing memes that you have created. You're selling product to your customer. So it is fine to have these as acquisition channels, but it cannot be the only thing that you do in the early days of the company. What you're building is the product that will add value to somebody's life. So if you're not thinking about playing a long game, you are doing things to acquire the customer somehow by hustle, and then have a suffering if you have not successfully transitioned into building a product. So I think that's I would recommend. And same thing with building a team. You want to get people who believe in the product for the reason they want to be with your startup, not because you are giving them 3x the salary of what they're currently making, 10x stock options that they would have a super economic output later. But foundationally, why they want to work with you? Because you are, as a person, they could learn. You as a company, you are building, they could have a meaningful impact in their own lives. And of course, you want to make sure that they succeed economically, because they don't waste opportunity by working on something, which does not fulfill the dreams of his family. And I want to point that out as a nuance. Many times, people who are working, they have their own satisfaction of doing what they're doing from their job. But guess, they have kids, they have a spouse, they want to live a comfortable life. So the economics of the startup also has to make sense. So, you have to play the long game, make sure you get people for the right reasons, but also make sure that they're successful at the end.
Yeah, I love that. What a powerful, deep thing there about what we should be focusing on. Love it, mate. And yeah, we connected through our networks where I learned about your awesome journey from starting in the India coal industry, I know, to becoming a pilot, which is very fun, to now obviously being the founder and CEO of Quolum, where you help SaaS companies to, save money on their spending. You're an awesome guy, and I'm sure you continue to help more people and businesses around the world. Very grateful that we connected. I look forward to working with you. So, Indus, how can people find you and get in contact with you?
Very easy. Indus Khaitan, Google me, or connect with me on LinkedIn. My company is Quolum, Quolum. We help businesses save money on software, right size and optimize. So find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or any other social channel.
Awesome, guys. Definitely check him out. Wealth of knowledge and everything there. And thank you to everyone for watching, listening to this show where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Athin Cassiotis, or visit my website, athincassiotis.com. If you want to grow and scale your business, you can reach out to me on any platform to see if we're a good fit. And I completely agree with you. Or do I? The only way we know is if you tune in next time. So until next time, remember that our business grows when we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So remember to design your growth and results.